Good afternoon, and the weather has definitely changed now. It feels really autumnal. Jumpers are on, trousers are back on, and we're now headed into that cold, wet season. But as always, I'm rearing for it. The log burner will be put on, everything will be nice and dry, and we'll just carry on preparing, ready for winter, ready for spring. So let's start that off today. So I came over yesterday and also finished off a little bit today where I've started harvesting some seeds again from the plot, and I was surprised at how many, you know, like the nasturtiums, all the sweet peas and everything else on the plot, you know, even some baby pumpkins I've harvested now. They're matured to the size that they're going to be, and at least some of those seeds I can grow again next year and then have another stock. So I had pretty much what I wanted from the plot yesterday and this morning, so I'm really happy that I've got the seeds that now that can save me so much money, because sweet pea seeds are absolutely phenomenal for about 10 seeds. So I've got a massive jar now full of them ready to plant up this plot, the fig and olive, and also the grapevine garden. So it's almost time for me to rip out the polytunnel. Do you know what? I think I've actually skipped blight this year. I'm you know, it could still happen, but it's almost time for me to take these vines out. I've had more than enough tomatoes from out this polytunnel, and I really do put it down to the fact that I've left all the plants spaced out well, good aeration. When I built this polytunnel, I put a huge double door on the front, a wide single door on the back, and that give it a good flow. So when you buy some of these polytunnels and they just got a door on the front, the air's going in and then it has to circle back and go back out the same way. So it's good that, you know, a good airflow is what you need to try and prevent blight. So having the plants all spaced out really well and also having good airflow has really helped my polytunnel this year. But it's almost time for me to take it all out, because I'm sick to death of tomatoes now. I'm sure you are as well. I have canned, I have given away, I have cooked, I have eaten them raw, and I'm just fed up of them now. So they're going to come out soon. I've got a really good project for this polytunnel I'm so excited to show you, and I'm going to plant this polytunnel up for the winter so you can see me growing through autumn and winter, and how if you've got a polytunnel or greenhouse, how you can use that space. And you know, in the winter months where you think, oh, it's a dead space, it's absolutely not. So I'm also going to check on the pumpkins if the stalk from the actual vine into the pumpkin is gone a browny grey colour. I know there's no more nutrients going into that pumpkin, and it's ready to clip off the vine, bring inside for a week in a polytunnel greenhouse somewhere light and dry, and let it cure for a week or so, and then it'll be perfect for autumn and winter. So I'm going to do that today. I know there's still a few on there that are they're still growing slowly through the season, but a lot of them now are ready. So another job that I'm going to do today. So I think as well I'm going to harvest some potatoes. I'm going to check the carrots in the buckets, because I'm sure they've grown a little bit more now. Get a cabbage, get some runnerbeans if there's still some left on the vines, and hopefully I can have a nice roast. So by the time you've watched this, I am probably full on the sofa enjoying my beautiful roast. So let's get that done today as well. So I've modified the actual camping stove that I've got inside this shed by adding obviously this kettle that wraps around the flue. So I still got space here if I want to put a frying pan or something on, and it's really handy because it wraps around, boils the water really quick. But also I've added this on. I've added this onto the flue so that I can actually control the amount of heat that leaves the stove now by just closing it off or opening it a little bit, and yeah, it just stops the amount of heat that leaves the stove. So another thing that I've been doing as well is that all the little plant shavings of the beans and off the sweet peas and things, I've been keeping them in here because they're all dry and they're perfect for burning in your campfire or on, you know, on your stove. So I keep these, and then they're good fire lighters. I always forget how much heat that packs out of this little stove. It's actually roasting in here now, so I've got the door open a bit, but it's such a wet, damp day that I just think, it's just one of those days that I just think the stove needs to be fired up, buy myself a nice cup of coffee in between my jobs on the plot. So I did plan on ripping out all these sweet peas today and a few of the others and the beans and things, but it's just too wet, and I just think that's just a silly job to do for no reason that can wait. So I'll wait for a nice dry day, rip all this out, bung it in the compost heap for next year's soil. One thing that I am so happy about is that I've actually managed to grow some artichokes. Now, I failed on my original plot. Maybe it was to do with the spacing because I had a limited amount of space, but on this plot, this has given it a nice bit of structure in between all the dahlias. But I might move it because I've got plans for this area. However, it's doing really well here for this year. It will die down and hopefully it'll come back next year. So I checked the plot cam on the fig and olive, and I actually caught a hedgehog eating some of the fallen figs off the tree. So at least they're using the spoils as well. So they're stocking themselves up, building all those fats in their bodies, ready for their hibernation, because they will be going to sleep very, very soon by the looks of it. Give it a month or two and they'll be sleeping their way through winter. Lucky them. So while the kettle's boiling, I thought I'd show you these plum tomatoes that I've got, and they're absolutely fantastic. This one's got a bit of rot or something going on there, but overall they've been amazing. But look at this weird one. They're all plum, and then I've got this huge one here, which makes no sense at all because they're all plum. All their sisters are plum, but then this one decided to be a big fatty. The more I come in here, the more I'm itching to take all this out, and I know there's no logic in it because they're still growing really well and there's no blight in here, but do you get that gardener's itch, you know, where you're just itching for the next thing? My favourite part about gardening is always going to be the sowing and the growing through spring and the harvest, but the in-between part, you know what I'm on about. You're itching to get it out of that bed to put something else in, but that's what I'm doing here. And I've got all these spring cabbage that I want to put into these beds, and I've got a lovely video coming up to show you about that, but I'm itching to get all this out, and I'm sure you do the same. So I need your help because I've decided that I'm not going to grow as many tomatoes next year. I love tomatoes, I don't love that many. So I've decided I'm going to only grow half of the polytunnel of tomatoes. The other side is going to be vacant. So give me some suggestions in the comments what I can grow in this polytunnel next year. I am going to grow maybe one cucumber, and that's mainly for my friends and family, but if you've got an idea that I can grow in there, hit it in the comments because I need new ideas, so help me out, guys. The big pumpkin's still doing really well. And remember I moaned I wasn't having any butternut squash. Well, I've looked under here and look, we seem to have got one in there. I think it's one of the baby butternuts, but I'm happy with that. And also up here there's a white pumpkin, another white pumpkin. So, oh, and another one. And another one. I don't think these will come to anything, but you know, they're there. This one might be okay. Let's climb into the jungle. Right, so I want to look at the corn because it all seems to be dying off now. You know when your corn is ready because this all goes a dark brown like this. Now these aren't huge corns, and I'll tell you what they are now. So these are meant to be strawberry corn and more of a popcorn variety, and I'm hoping inside here there is some nice bright red popcorn. We'll see. It's getting smaller. They're very small varieties, but Sarah from She Sows She Grows sent me these last year and I planted them up, and we'll have a look. So they're not quite red yet, and if anything they look quite yellowish. Yeah, these were definitely the strawberry corn. So far they look like this. Looks like an ugly sister. No. Yeah, so this is what they look like right now, but I'm hoping maybe a little bit longer they might turn red, but if not, it was worth a go. So I know exactly where this can go. It can go to Mr. Hedgehog. Right, I'm gonna drink this, and I've decided I am definitely gonna, I said I wasn't gonna do it, but I'm gonna remove the nasturtiums from the plot, because as much as they're a bit wet right now, they are getting on my nerves a little bit now. They've done their job, there's not many flowers left, and they're just getting me wet when I walk back and forth the path. So drink this, let's get that done. So it's like I've given it a bit of a haircut, but I won't take it all down because I'm not really worried about the back part. But for now, this part just clears it up. It shows you how big this planter is. I will tie up the cosmos. I'm not going to knock them back because they were late blooming, so I feel like I should give them a chance. So I'll just string them up now, and then they're out the way as well. So if you've grown nasturtiums, look at all the seeds that have fallen down. Now I'm hoping the hedgehogs will eat most of those. I will gather some more up so I can plant next year, but if you don't, see all these? There'll be 1,000 nasturtium plants next year. Job done. Now I was told I looked grumpy walking down here the other day. I wasn't. So these are the international kidney potatoes, and we can't call them Jersey Royals because they're not grown on Jersey, but you know what I mean. So I'm going to check and harvest some of those now, and hopefully we've got a nice crop there for my beautiful Sunday roast. Let's have a look. Right, so let's have a look. Fingers crossed we've got a few beauties. Oh, I'm gonna have to get my hands dirty now. God, what have happened to me since I've got 4K, eh? I'm entitled. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So it's all dyed back. I've got about 4 or 5 buckets now of potatoes. I'll bring these in because, as you can see, these were planted in March, and then we're now, you know, late into the summer, autumn, and look at them. They're just perfect in this soil. So I'll leave them in the buckets, keep them over covered, and they'll be good to go for another month or two, maybe even till January. So the good thing about these buckets as well is that you only need to harvest what you need. So everything else I'll leave in the buckets. There's a couple of good big ones there, look. So that should be enough now, that's plenty. Take a couple more for good measure. That was the old seed potato. It's done its job. And then make sure that there's no more on the surface. Pat it back down, and that's good to go. That'll be like a nice little potato store for now for the next month or so. Oh, that's not bad. Oh, look at that. These are the, what were they called? It's always good to label it. Early nantes. So, these are perfect size for me. They'll be sweet, small, absolutely beautiful. And no carrot root fly either. So I've harvested some potatoes, some carrots, some runner beans. I need a cabbage now. I've got some down the grapevine garden. I'm going to shoot down there quickly because it looks like it might rain. And then I'm good to go for Sunday lunch. So he's not the biggest, but he's enough. I'm running out of cabbages now, and I've already got the spring ones in, ready to go in the polytunnel. I am obsessed with cabbages, one of my favourite things to grow, so I always try and make sure I've got plenty on the plots. So as you can see, I've also harvested some of the pumpkins and squashes. 2 or 3 of them had already snapped off the vine, so they'll be alright. I'll use those first, but these ones, all brown stem, they'll queue out for a week or so in here and they'll be perfect, they'll be good to go. So an essential for all allotment sheds is a first aid box. Now this is the nurse in me now, gonna give you a lecture. Get a first aid box for your shed. If you haven't got one, you're a fool, because the amount of times I've stepped on something on this plot, cut my fingers, and I've needed a plaster or something, or not just you, other people on the plots who aren't as clever as you and have got one of these, at least you can help out. So get yourself a first aid box. That's the nurse in me now. Lecture over, but this was about $2.99 in B&M bargains. It's absolutely perfect for the shed, and I've even got one in the car as well. So lecture over, but get yourself a first aid box. So these are some of the seeds that I've already saved. So I've got some sweet peas at the back, and I've also got some Rebecca, Kent blue peas, marigolds, some sunflowers, speckled cranberry, black turtle, bush bean, pongo, dwarf beans, some runner beans, and also some nasturtiums. So you'll be surprised how much that you can actually harvest and save for seed for next year. And this is already. So I mean, look how much money I'd be saving. So I've been inspired by Doug and Linda, who've tried some of my tomatoes and made some soup. So I think the remainder of the tomatoes I'm going to harvest with a few other ingredients on the plot and make some beautiful tomato soup for my tea tonight. So let's go. So what a beautiful harvest to make some nice rich tomato soup. We've got some onions, a curry squash, garlic, some chili peppers, Brad's atomic tomatoes, some amazing tomatoes that I've grown in the polytunnel, and then some herbs from the garden, and that should make the perfect tomato soup. And I will remove this little critter before I grab that handle. So I've gone down to the grapevine garden again, and I've checked on the grapes, and I think because it's going to start to rain, I think I'm going to leave it until the next video, and I'm going to go down, give it a good harvest, and I've actually got a fruit press so I can actually make grape juice and wine. So stay tuned for the next video. It's going to come out in the next couple of days, and hopefully we'll get some form of juice from those beautiful grapes from the grapevine garden. So I just want to appreciate this sunflower because she has not been knocked down about 5 or 6 times by the wind. I've not staked her up very well, and the slugs have had a go on her, but you keep going, girl, you keep going. So earlier on I showed you a butternut squash, and it looks like I've got another one here. So it looks like Danny is going to get some butternut squash, so I am proper happy. And I can also see curry squash under there as well. One of my favourite things about growing pumpkins and squashes is that you don't know what's under that foliage. The ones that they show you on the outside, they tend to be the best ones, but there's always a couple of sneaky ones underneath that I call the bonus harvest. So I always love those. They're the little surprises that you didn't ask for but you got anyway. So a little update on these. I've seen a few people since comment saying that you can actually harvest them like this, and they taste like peppers, like little peppers. So I'm going to harvest a few of these as well, because I've got quite a few on the other side as well, and I'll give them a go. I will give them a go, because when they were quite big they tasted like, well, they didn't taste, they smelled like cucumber. So I'll give them a go when they're quite small and tender, and hopefully they'll taste like peppers. So if they do, I might grow them again next year, but we'll see. So it's almost garlic planting season, and this is actually the elephant garlic, and it's absolutely huge. But I tend to plant, you know, 1 or 2 of these bulbs, but this year I'm going to be planting a whole bed because I loved it so much. Putting a whole bulb, roast it in the oven, was absolutely beautiful, smeared over some nice fresh bread. So I'm going to plant up all of this, and probably loads more varieties as well that I've saved, and I've also bought a few more as well. But I'm really looking forward to garlic season, and if you are interested in growing garlic, here's a video here that I actually did last year, and I had the most amazing harvest season, so check out that video. I'm Danny and this is the Grapevine Garden.